item not on the agenda or consent agenda may be identified and requested for consideration by the board at this time. The board may request an item to be placed on a future agenda or for a consent agenda item to be moved to the regular agenda for public comment. No public comment? Just making sure. All in favor? I'm kidding. So we'll move on down to the consent agenda. Consider approving the October 23, 2024 meeting minutes. And I will entertain a motion in a second whenever you guys are ready.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
I can second it.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. We'll move on to item 3, the regular agenda, public hearing and comment. Item number 2 is discuss and consider a theme, style, and scope for Riverwalk wayfinding signage and recommend any related matters.
This has been a fun project to work on. At the last meeting, we presented to you kind of like the concept of what we're trying to do, and we got some initial input on that. Since that time, we've hired Craig Kinney, who is the primary architect for the river project, primarily of interest to this project. That was his involvement. We've hired him to kind of help facilitate this process and take it to the design work. We have funding for design, but not yet for implementation. So, City Council was interested in having ASU students work with us to develop the concept. I had an initial meeting with the students, and then when Mr. Kinney came on board, we met 2 times with the students at their class, and I think each time was 2 hours, about 2 hours each time. And the students had paired up in teams of 2, and this is one of the graphic arts classes that Professor Edwin Cuenco teaches in the arts department. And so there was, I guess, about a total of 11 teams that we looked at their submissions and kind of walked them through. And before we'd started, we gave them basically 5 things to look at. And these were those 5 things. Of course, the function, the wayfinding signage got to serve a function. It's got to tell you where you're at, where other things are in relationship to where you're at, and where to help you go where you want to go. The project talks about the location of where those signs go. It looks at the design of those signs. It considers cost. We're not going to have a lot of money to do this, so the signs need to be simple. And of course, they got to be easy to maintain. They got to last time. So these were the questions that we started out with the students. And the scope of the signage, basically in the east, basically where we are at the convention center, the gazebo gardens, and the upcoming World War II memorial, and in the west, the Water Lily collection in Santa Fe Park. We weren't just concerned about helping folks along the river trail, but also connecting them to other locations off the trail. And this is the big list of those locations. Some of these are on the trail and some of them are off the trail. But we also wanted to make sure folks knew about other places like the sports complex that was outside of the scope of this project, as well as Kirby Park and other similar locations.
What is the Chase building? What is the Chase building?
Yeah, I think we decided not to include that because people.
Oh, sorry, I'm just
It's
curious.
basically a collection of state facilities that's in the building that's by the fort.
Oh, Fort Concho, that's right.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it's the Ralph Chase State Office building.
My bad.
The workforce center's over there and lots of other agencies, TCQ.
Rainbow Room, cool.
And so we worked with 11 teams, and we got their submissions, their final submissions yesterday. We went over them this morning, and we want to present to you the leading direction. We think this is a good direction to go. We hope to work with the students of this team to kind of fine tune it and make it work for our project. Mr. Craig Kinney's here to also provide some input as we go along and present this. And if you have any questions or input, we need that along the way. And where we go from here is to take it to, I'm going to show city council first in a memo to them, just to say, hey, this is what we've got. And the plan is to take it to council probably in a meeting in January. And then if they're okay with it, then we'll start working on the design. So I don't know if Craig, I don't know how much of this you want to talk about, Craig, but come up when you're ready to come up with. The team that had the direction we were most interested in going with is this one. This was their original proposed idea, and then we met with them to kind of fine tune it. Do you want to talk to it, or?
This team provided a lot of options, and we appreciated that. They explored different directions. Many of the teams did not. So there's a real variety here. Not all of them work. I think many of them need to be massaged, if you will. But there's some great movement and direction here, I think. So the hope is to work with this team and understand what our budget is and where these things are going, get very specific in our next phase. Right now, this is just design ideas. These light poles, you know, there's a lot of discussion, for example, that needs to happen around items like this. This team has specifically chosen where these light poles might go, but light poles are expensive and they need to be maintained. And a light pole could be really expensive. So is it in the budget? There's lots of ideas here. You want to flip it again? But I think we can make many of these ideas work. Some of them are too complex. Some of them are maintenance issues. But overall, it's a lot to think about and a lot to work with. For the poles, you'll note that on the bottom of that, I'm not sure if this team imagines this as a banner, but you'll see the little wave at the bottom of the banner that recalls the curves that you've seen around town, and it's actually on the visitor center roof. That's where that curve comes in. You've seen it in, I think, all of these present design options. We liked the idea of the photographs over here at key places. These might be just kind of fun fact type signs, but for a visitor, it's helpful to get oriented and learn a little bit. We imagine that see a map on this fourth little diagram. That's a key map that will get you oriented as you're along the river. These might be at 3 or 4 different locations, but you'll see little keynotes, numbers that will place you and say, you know, this is where you go. Some of these might also have mileage attached, 0.2 miles, 0.8 miles to the lily pads. Okay.
The one thing I wanted to point out with this slide is, you know, the Bosque, the sign at the Bosque, the top part is made of Corten steel, and I think that's what a lot of the brown signs they show here is that Corten steel. It holds up real well to weather, and as long as it doesn't get irrigation on it.
The only other thing I liked in that, if you go back one more slide, on maybe one more, sorry. Like these here, like I don't know, y'all probably know more about, obviously know more about it than I do, but like from a banner's perspective, would it be better to have a banner, or could you use that same steel and then just cut the letters
I
out?
think that's what this is.
Like a plasma cutter?
think
Oh,
that's
that's,
what
okay,
that is,
perfect, yeah.
yeah.
I like that, that's sharp. I like the letters that pop out, it's different. That's awesome, that's a pretty good job for them.
Yeah, and the map, you know, we didn't want to include too much information. We kind of wanted to hone it in, but also have points that you could see on the map. Of course, the "You Are Here" star location. And of course, this would have a legend too to correspond with the numbers.
Most of the presentations, the other teams that we worked with were not nearly as developed as this one. They were far more sketchy, and this team of students really pushed it, and we appreciated that.
That's a good deal. I like it.
Another thing I wanted to point out, this kind of shows the range of signs. We told them we wanted an informational map sign, so they included that. So you see that here with the map and the points and the legend. And then also some directional signs. When you're on the trail at different locations, you know, how do you get to somewhere else? That's what you see, this pedestrian directional sign. And then also some informational signs. When you get to a location, you know, tell people you're there and what's there. So that's what these are. But they also came up with some other signs that, and different things that we'll consider utilize as well.
Those are sharp, especially on the map one. What comes to mind is it may be nice to have like a little holder for maps, but at the same time, people already have, you know, a camera in their pocket they can take a picture of it. There's no need for that. So, yeah, they did a good job. I'm impressed.
And, you know, Ben, keeping to your idea about accessibility, you know, when we see this sign with a map, we realize that that's too far high to be able to see. We're gonna have to make it accessible for all folks to be able to see it and use it.
With the accessibility, I'm more familiar with designing the digital content for that. In terms of physical items, yeah, you would have to worry about the height of some things and the placement of it. I think looking at it, just eyeballing it, not seeing, you know, every color exactly as it's supposed to be, it looks like it would generally meet all the contrast requirements. My big concern will always just be location of it, making sure it's visible for people, making sure that people won't be put in a difficult situation or a dangerous situation trying to get around it in some way. But overall, I'm really impressed with the work.
The only other thing I can think of is, I don't know how closely we could like link up different people, like this team with like the Chamber of Commerce, like the Discover San Angelo kind of thing, of saying, these are all the items on the map. Are there any things that we left out? I know we don't want to like include businesses or anything like that, but it's like just making sure that like whatever we're advertising in Andrews, Texas, the people that come to San Angelo, making sure all that matches up.
Yeah, that's a good
Perhaps
point.
Jeremy Bartz or somebody like that over there probably be able to help out.
I don't know if the city has, like, do we have a specific color palette and like fonts and things like that the city uses? Were they
River
given?
Corridor Commission may have a say in that.
Okay,
This blue, or all the colors really, is going to be up for discussion.
okay, yeah. I mean, usually I just, again, kind of like you're thinking consistency on what we're advertising, I'm thinking just design consistency is important. Like, I like the idea of using that steel that's used at the Bosque. You know, things, just making sure we kind of have a cohesiveness across at least, you know, this section of town, downtown.
And I like that it's just not just a square or rectangle, it's got some shape to it, so it makes it fun, yeah. Parks are fun, you gotta have fun with it.
Yeah, I like the wave too.
Just try to think what else to cover here. You know, looking at this one, you know, we talked about, it's neat, but it's probably has too many pieces to it and maybe difficult to keep up over time. It could get damaged more easily. So we'll have to, our hope is to be able to work with this team at least the next few weeks before we take a design to work up some more finalized graphics.
Are they undergrad or graduate students?
Undergrad.
That's a good deal. They're sharp. I like that. Are they compensated in any way for this or just real-time experience?
With a grade.
That's a good deal. Hey, that's the only way I made it through college was through extra credit. So I 100% agree with that.
I'm hoping on some of these, if we do end up using like standards, we might be able to use existing standards that we already have, like some of the light bulbs perhaps.
Oh, yeah.
I think that covers all of it.
Awesome. You guys did a good job. Thank you.
So yes, the next step would let city council know kind of what the final direction is, or the preferred direction, and get their input. But if y'all have any other input and recommendation,
Do you need a recommendation from us saying, hey, this all?
I think it would help if we had one.
Okay. I'll entertain a
The
recommendation.
caption's written so you could.
Awesome. I'll entertain a recommendation from anybody if that's all right.
Recommending to move forward with this team's,
Like, move
Concepts?
forward with this direction and design.
Based on the input we've already kind of
Yeah.
given, feedback stuff, yeah, okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Awesome. Well, that's good work. Okay. Jumping down to item number 3, discuss the Santa Rita Park renovation project and recommend any related matters.
It is progressing. This is the current conceptual map. We can talk about that right quick before we move on. So, key locations, we have a court that's already been converted to pickleball, 2 pickleball courts, right?
Yep.
Yes, I see Mario nodding. Basically took a tennis court, put 1 pickleball court on one end, 1 pickleball court on the other end. At this location, the thought is to add a shade structure adjacent to it. This is about 10 foot by 20 foot on a pad with some seating, either some bench seating or a small bleacher, whatever would fit. Because we're thinking, couples, teams, friends would come to play and they would take turns playing and take a rest at the shade structure. Of course, there is a walking trail that goes along that connects Madison through a parking area to Monroe Street, and also from Monroe to Avenue J, and then all the way down back also to Madison. Initially we thought about looping it in here. We thought it better to keep some of this area open and wooded to kind of keep the original woodsiness of it and not have walkers walk through it. If you want to walk, you can still be able to walk this entire trail, but we thought not to include the trail down here. There's the addition of a natural playground, basically with play elements for younger kids and the older kids. There's a picnic area up here. There is we're calling it an amphitheater right now, and I'll show pictures of that. You've seen them earlier. It says a planter here, but it's more like a butterfly garden. Something that's going to be attractive and have flowering plants in it, perennial plants all throughout the year. And then, the parking area, which I think is big enough for about 6 cars plus accessible parking connected to the trail. One key thing is, the drive that's here now that goes all the way down to a parking area. We all agreed to take that out. We could keep much of the paving as part of this trail here, but to take that out. Still have it wide enough so that trucks get down there to maintain the area down by the pickleball court. We wanted to keep some open space. I think those are the main elements. This is a rendering of the amphitheater. And the thought here again is to have it kind of work different directions where, like, you could either sit here, like for a classroom or even for an outdoor music, or you could even sit out here. Currently, Music in the Park, they do set up at this general location and people sit out here. But we thought it would be neat, because we already have the slope on this side, to put some tiered seating, which would be similar to what you see at the river stage. Had to update the cost estimates based on our new conceptuals and based on price changes, and taking a closer look at what the costs were, and the cost did go up. This shows the total. If we did everything that's on that list, plus some other things that don't show up on the map, things like tables and benches, it's right at $574,500. The biggest item of that, of course, is the irrigation. That's almost half of that cost. That's if we irrigated the entire park, which we all agree doesn't need to be done. But if we went in and just irrigated kind of the main part, we call the common area, we could reduce that cost. Yeah, here in the next line, if we could reduce that cost by half, which would bring our total to about $450,000. We have $100,000 available in half-cent sales tax, so the funds needed to be raised about $350,000.
I know this probably isn't like the first park that we're ever projecting to put irrigation in, but like Roger, I'm always curious, like y'all's like history of parks that y'all put in where y'all argue, where we talk about, do we do our irrigation, do we not do irrigation? Is it obviously in the rainy years, it greens things up and it's fine, but do y'all see attendance go up or go down if it's just dead yellow brown?
Yeah, so the issues that we've had, and we've actually had these issues at Santa Rita Park, is the fact that we start losing ground very quickly without irrigation, especially on trees. It's a low area, so when it does rain, it collects water, but when it gets dry, it gets really dry. And it starts hammering those trees really hard. And so even though we're talking about potentially just irrigating one area of it, maybe 40-50% of it, we would probably also have irrigation in terms of drip irrigation that would go out to the trees, maybe throughout the park.
Nice.
Wouldn't be a full irrigation underground system with pop-up heads and things like that would go out. And so, yes, one of the things that we've been doing for, probably the last 10, 15 years is going in and trying to revise or bring back the irrigation in a lot of our areas, especially along the river, so that we would not lose the trees. And so far, we've been very successful in those areas that we've brought the irrigation back to life. We would love to do that there at Santa Rita for that same reason.
Nice. Very cool. Thanks, sir.
And part of the way that we keep the cost of these projects down is by doing some of the work in-house. This shows most of this being done by us, but there's different parts that would be contracted, the parking area, and we may be able to get Public Works to help us with that. The rock wall and the bridge repairs contracted. Irrigation system contracted. If we add the aerators, contracted. I think that was it, as far as contracted work. So we did take this to the larger Santa Rita neighborhood group, which was the original core group, plus some folks from the outside who had expressed interest at the community meeting the police held back in October. We had some good input. We decided to prioritize those improvements with scoring sheets. I don't have all the scoring sheets in yet, so I can't report on that yet. And then we talked about strategizing for the fundraising. And we do hope to meet again, hopefully next week. At that public meeting we had, we kind of paired off in different groups. One group said we'll look at doing some research on grants, and so they're going to report back to us on that at the next meeting. Emily Jane and her group were going to look at, doing some kind of local neighborhood fundraising with some yard signs, QR codes, and things like that. Hitting Mr. T's. And then also holding some social events, kind of like cookouts, just to kind of get the discussion going. Just meet and greet and talk about the project. I think that's it. I don't think we need a recommendation, just any input.
Quick update, yeah.
Emily Jane, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I was going to say that, something that I had thought about when we have the next neighborhood meeting is, obviously continuing to explore the fundraising possibilities. We've talked about a lot of different ideas, and, there may be some bigger donors that, will put forth some more money but we also think we could get a lot of small donations. That just may take longer. I do know that one resident in the neighborhood is meeting with the financial, Mark Tiemann, I believe, kind of has the HOA account or neighborhood association account. And so just trying to figure out how we can link that to maybe some QR codes and doing some small donation things. I don't know that it's going to make it by the end of this year, but maybe it can be a January, goal. Potentially this may be a phase thing, if it has to be, like, you kind of, like, based on the priority sheets, that people bring back, it's like, if we can raise this much, we can do this. If we can raise this much, we can do that. But I personally, and I think it is seconded by some other neighbors, that even though it's not the flashiest thing, that getting that irrigation there is really important. Unfortunately, it's like spending all your money on a house renovation on the plumbing, but not being able to get, like, new fixtures in the bathroom.
No.
Anyway, and some people even said that they feel like we should use the money and just, irrigate the entire park, even if we can't do some of the other things. So anyway, I'm hopeful that there's going to be lots of people that will donate towards it. Yeah. We can have our pie and eat it too.
Okay.
That's it on that,
Okay, anything else? Other feedback? All right. Thank you, Carl. Item number 4, discuss and consider proposed parkland dedication ordinance for the city of San Angelo and recommend any related matters.
We don't have the final draft of the ordinance to present.
Okay.
We do want to present that to the board before we take it to council. So it's on the agenda. We can talk about it if we want to, or we can just wait till we get the draft to talk about it in full. It's up to you.
Yeah, I don't have much on it, so unless anybody else does. No motion, no recommendation or anything, so we'll just wait on you guys. No big rush.
Sure.
Okay. Item 5, hear and discuss updates on key activities, projects, programs, and events from Parks and Rec divisions.
Parks, you want to go first?
Roger Havlock, Park Senior Manager. We basically are switching gears at this point. We're kind of getting out of the growing season, so to speak, with some of the light frost that we've had, and starting to work on trees. So our first phase was taking out any dead or dying trees that we've had in our parks. We've concluded that exercise, and now we are shifting into heavy pruning, if needed, with any of our trees. Most of our trees that we're going to plant this year have been purchased. We'll probably start that process next week in terms of planting trees. And we still have some that we're waiting on to get shipped in. And so once that happens, we'll finish that project and continue on with pruning. We have stump grinding going on as we speak. So, yeah, just trying to clean up a lot of areas. Probably once we get into the trees, we'll probably start focusing in on some of the cane removal that we try to do each year as well. Sometimes it gets away from us along the river, so we'll probably use the winter time to work on that. In terms of projects, right now, we finished some renovations on Brown Park in terms of the surfacing. We still have more to do on that. We have shifted to the storage building at the sports complex, so we're working on some drainage issues there. The Street and Bridge Department came in and put a nice base pad in for us, so we'll start putting up the structure hopefully pretty soon with that project. We're also working on quotes for a pavilion over at the Texas Bake Sports Complex, so that may be another project we'll be working on. And then hopefully when we finish those, if there's enough funds, we'll start into Santa Rita. And so that's our goal as we move forward with that. Other than that, it's work as usual. We have lots of work orders we're trying to catch up on. We're trying to buy a lot of plants for our gardens right now. So, yeah, it's good. It's busy. We love the weather. Need another rain. So, you have any questions? All right, thank you.
Keep up the good work. Thanks, sir. Jesse?
Yeah, so with it going to the winter season, we just wrapped up our basketball drafts for youth basketball. So basically individual registrations. They came and did like a skills assessment, and coaches got to draft their players. But in terms of teams that brought in a full team, we've had over 60 teams drop off packets so far. So we have a pretty big league there. Adult sports wrapped up this week with the adult basketball tournaments. Volleyball wrapped up and softball as well. What's left to go right now is the adult flag football because we're hosting state this weekend. So we've had 17 adult teams. We've been getting calls from the DFW area, Midland, places like Grand Prairie, bringing the team in to come play adult flag football. So excited about that happening this weekend. With last month, we had a turkey shoot, which was a free competition that we did where people got to come out, do a free throw competition to win a turkey, and then second and third place got a pie. We had more than doubled participation than last year, so over 20 kids came and played. So we like that to be one of those things that grow. Keep that going. And then we had a basketball clinic. We actually had a few basketball clinics. So over 40 kids worked on their skills in basketball with us over at Southside. Facility maintenance got new goals put up at our north side location. One of the rims was starting to drag a little bit. Want to make sure we're good to go for going to practices and games. South side, the mechanism for the lock was getting, just from people yanking on the door over and over again. They're fixing that next week, so that'll be good to go again before the season starts. We've worked on quotes for lighting in the gyms, so we're going to get that adjusted, probably switch those out to LED lights just to make it just brighter in the gyms, just some of the touch-up stuff that we can do that isn't just a complete, hey, rebuild the gym situation. And as we're getting into next year, just planning for events, we've winterized Unidad and wrapping up that winterization going into next week for our splash pad. But we're getting geared up to when in March we want to do our first event or two for just gearing up for opening it back up. We want to do a couple of movie in the park type events, and we want to do the same thing when Kirby gets done. In Santa Rita, we'd be open doing events out there. We just know with our two splash pad locations, we want to go ahead and utilize. Hey, we have a splash pad there. Let's go ahead and try and get some events going. But we're open to doing events at other parks as well, and that's what we have going on the recreation side.
Awesome. Questions, feedback, discussion? Thank you, Jesse. Anything else, Carl?
Alicia's not here, but she did send a few emails before the meeting. One was on fundraising. I think they're still short about $40,000 to get in their total goal, but they have enough to get going. She's already coordinating permits. They already gave instructions to their contractors to start lining up the work. They've already been coordinating maintenance-related matters with us. And so I do anticipate that project starting the first of the year, should be ready for spring.
Awesome. You want me to give a quick update on the Parks Foundation?
Yes, sir.
Got some good news earlier this week. We got our letter from the IRS certifying that we are a 501c3 charitable organization for the San Angelo Parks Foundation. So that was a big thumbs up. Many thanks to Tanya over at Oliver Rainey, WOTEC, getting us taken care of, and all the forms filed with the state as well as the IRS. So it's always good to be in both of their graces. So happy with that. So I wasn't sure on the parks, Santa Rita stuff that you guys are working on, depending on if we get with I think the next step in the process is to get the committee together again here in the near future, and then kind of get the account over at the Area Foundation set up. So once we get that set up, formation documents sent to them, and it's there, then everything's deductible. So somebody can gift y'all 100 shares of Apple to pay for irrigation or something like that, or however much they want to do. It makes it a little bit easier when it's tax deductible. Some counts are, some aren't, but this one, it'll be nice to have that, so.
And I don't think the neighborhood, I don't think the neighborhood association account is.
Okay, well, and it'd be something that as a committee, we could say, well, let's distribute funds to here or Kids Kingdom or wherever projects we got going on. So just wanted to give that quick update. That's kind of a big win, so I was fired up about that. Questions on anything there? Well, I'll probably be sending out an email for us to get back together here in the next couple days, next couple weeks, before the end of the year, or maybe just at the first of the year. So that's all I got there.
Good job.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, sorry. Next meeting day.
Oh, yes, I think we're lined up for January 8th. Yeah, I think we're lined up for January 8th, and I think we will still be in this meeting location. I think that's it.
Until they kick us out.
We're still working on the audio system over there, I think.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Well, cool. Well, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Or we can just hang out here. Doesn't matter.
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right. Thanks, guys. Easy enough.